Up next, we have another very cool discussion coming up. I'd like to invite on screen in a bit Ajay Ponna Venkatesh. I'm going to first introduce Ajay to us, and then we'll have Ajay come on screen. So, Ajay is the director and head of Flipkart Labs. He's our next speaker. He was the co-founder of Capic, an award-winning AR startup that was acquired by Flipkart in November 2020. And that led to the birth of Flipkart Camera. For those of you that don't know, Flipkart Camera has enabled the 3D and augmented reality experiences within the Flipkart app to enable users to make better purchase decisions. And I think they've got 700 million plus visits. It is one of the world's largest deployments of 3D and AR on a commerce platform. And Flipkart Camera is now a very, very, very integral part of our Flipkart app and part of the larger Flipkart Labs team, which again led by Ajay, is looking forward to launch pilots in the Web3 use cases like NFTs and virtual worlds this year, along obviously with scaling camera initiatives. He's a huge believer of Web3 and XR shaping the future of computing and has been following these domains very, very actively for the last 7+ years. I think he's filed 10 plus patents in these areas as well. And one of them has already been granted by the USPTO. So without further ado, let's have Ajay walk us through the future directions of AR, VR enabled smart solutions for the e-commerce industry. And audience members, you can submit your questions like you've been doing so far via the Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen. Ajay, without further ado, then over to you.
Thank you so much, Ambika. Hello, everyone. Hope everybody is doing well. Firstly, kudos to you, Anu, and everybody in the Flipkart team to put up this wonderful event. Very happy and privileged to be talking to everyone here. I'm here to talk about the topic of what are the emerging technology trends around AR and VR, specifically around e-commerce, and what are the smart solutions that we can enable in specifically using technologies like augmented and virtual reality for e-commerce. So we can get started. I think you've done a lovely introduction of mine, so I will skip this. We can move to the next slide. Okay, if you can play the video as well in mute while I'm talking. Before I go and talk about what are the use cases and what are the emerging trends that can appear, I'd like to first clarify and demystify certain jargons on what these are so that it's very easy for you to be able to comprehend when I explain later. So the first, it's augmented reality. And for the purpose of today's discussion, I'll call this as augmented reality phone-based. Can you go back, Ambika? Did we skip a slide? Okay, no, okay, sorry then. So augmented reality is basically a technology where you're able to superimpose or put a digital object in your real life. So unlike virtual reality, which is basically you wear a VR headset and you're cut off from your real world, augmented reality is basically you using your smartphone or you using your tablet to be able to put a digital object in your real life and it appears as if it's really there in front of you. So that is what augmented reality is all about. You can move to the next slide. So virtual reality, in contrast, is a technology where you usually wear a VR headset, what we call as HMD, which is head-mounted display. And then you're completely immersed into a virtual world and cut off from the real world. So this, what you're seeing in the video, is a artificially generated virtual world, which kind of looks like real world. Of course, you can turn around, you can walk in it, and it gives you a feeling as if you're really there. So as you can see here, the person is, very scared as if he's really on top of a very tall building and is about to fall. And this gives you a perception as if, you're in the environment as a first-person perspective. Unlike you watching a movie in theater or on your laptop, where you're watching it from a third-person perspective. I'm sure all of you have watched a lot of funny videos where people have fallen down, they've, got very scared of seeing things in VR because it gives you a very, very realistic perception of what a real life could be, but just wearing a VR headset. So the ones you see on the left are different VR headsets that exist in the market today. Of course, there have been different generations of headset. I've been using VR headset since maybe 2014. when Google Cardboard was there, and then Oculus Rift 1, Rift 2, HTC Vive, and then the industries evolved to get towards more cheaper headsets like Samsung Gear VR and Xiaomi VR headsets. But now I think what's probably, in my opinion, the best VR headset is Oculus Quest, and recently Oculus Quest launched its Quest Pro as well, and I think it's one of the best VR headsets that gives you a very immersive real life experience today. So this is what virtual reality is all about, where you're not in your real life, you're cut off from your real life, and then you experience something virtual, but your brain thinks it is real, so you kind of get a realistic experience. We can move to the next slide. Mixed reality. I think mixed reality again is augmented reality itself, but because I think Microsoft coined this term long back as a marketing term, because augmented reality was very confusing. But for the sake of today's discussion and clarity again, I'll call mixed reality as the headset based AR, which is it's augmented reality itself. But what if you can wear a headset which is not a VR headset, which is not cutting you off from the real world? It is having a transparent or translucent lens through which you can see the world, and then you're able to augment stuff on top of it. So the video that's playing there is one of the very cool videos that I usually recommend people to watch on how the future of humanity would be when you use a mixed reality. So right when you wake up, you look at it, there are things that are superimposed in front of you. You're traveling, it's like almost Google Maps coming in front of you, where it's showing directions, and you're not looking at a screen to look at it, but it's superimposed on top of your real world itself. This is where a lot of innovation is happening, and in my personal opinion, augmented reality and virtual reality will come together and combine to form this one AR or VR headset through which you will be able to see the real life and then be able to superimpose something on top of it. And then maybe at a click of a button, you make the screen opaque, and then you go into a virtual reality mode, and then you are completely cut off from the real world. And all of this will ideally start happening in a form factor of a smart glass. So what you see on an image there, I think there are a lot of companies like Snapchat and even Facebook Meta has partnered with Ray-Ban to be able to bring all of this technology, which is, be it AR or VR, into a form factor of a simple spectacle. So in an ideal world, maybe 2, 3, or 4 years from now, we'll all be wearing a simple Ray-Ban or any other goggles, which will allow us to superimpose augmented stuff in front of us in real life, and then be able to go into a virtual reality mode as well. How cool does that sound? So I've been a believer of this for the last many years, and I truly believe that we are at a very, very pinnacle of an inflection point in computing hardware itself. But this is going to completely change the way we're going to interact with computers. Maybe 4 years from now, the Billion AI event is not going to happen in Zoom, where we're sitting on laptops and looking at 2D videos of all of us. Maybe we'll all wear glasses, and it gives us a impression that we're all together in an augmented reality or virtual reality world. So that's the future that we're building towards. But let's come back to today's reality. Although this is not fully built, there are some teething issues in technology, and it's much, much better than what it was a few years back, and it's only going to get better. Let me focus the next part of my discussion on what are the different use cases for AR and VR in different industries, just for 2 minutes, and then spend a lot of time talking about what are the relevant use cases for e-commerce today. Because it's very easy for me to talk about future, give you a Matrix movie kind of experience, but I want to focus a lot on what is possible today, and specifically what we have achieved in Flipkart as well. So there is proof in the pudding as well. We can move to the next slide. So we can quickly run through this in 2 minutes, just so that you understand that AR and VR, it's spoken for a lot of time now. It has gone through the Gartner cycle of hype cycle, and then the trough of disillusionment. And now I think these technologies are finding a good product market fit. So just wanted to take all of you through a wide perspective of where all is this applicable before we jump into e-commerce in itself. So I think brands definitely are using it. For example, a lot of these brands have this virtual store setup where you'd be able to look at 360 view of an entire store, use hotspots to navigate and be able to purchase. Primarily marketing, the experience is not probably too immersive if you use it on a mobile phone or a laptop today, that you would feel very immersive, but it's more used for marketing and experiential kind of experiences today. Next slide, please. Healthcare, I think most of you would be aware already, a very relevant use case for both augmented and virtual reality. Augmented reality allows you to use computer vision and be able to superimpose certain things on top of a human body, which you would probably look at an X-ray and then a monitor, and then you're looking at a monitor and then getting operated. I'm not sure how many of you have got operated, but when I got a surgery in my leg for a fracture, the doctor was actually looking at the monitor and then operating on my leg, right? It's so very hard to understand how is it possible, right? What if you're able to superimpose that on top of your body itself and then be able to operate on top of it? So it could be using a tablet, it could be using a headset. Even in education, a lot of healthcare education and training can happen with augmented and virtual reality without you having to spend a physical setup to be able to do a lot of stuff. So that's more on the healthcare use cases. There are a lot more as well. There is a VR app that actually helps you detect a particular kind of eye disease, which otherwise you need to place your head in a particular machine and it needs to capture and all of it. So the partial blindness and all of it can be actually detected using just a VR headset itself. Next slide, please. Tourism, one of the early use cases. I mean, if you talk about virtual reality, the first thing that comes to your mind when you say, hey, you can experience something virtual without leaving the comfort of your home, all of us would want to travel the entire world using VR headset. And that's what tourism use case is all about. What if you can sit at your home, wear a VR headset, and be able to watch the Taj Mahal or Niagara Falls or Statue of Liberty? And it's not a video, right? You feel as if you're in the scene, you're going close to it. And the true VR experience is when you have haptics as well, and you're able to touch it. You're able to generate different kinds of smell using cartridges. You're able to generate spatial audio. So there's a lot for technology to be uncovered in the next few years. But I see that happening where in tourism, maybe in few years we may not be too excited to travel to a place because we'll all be doing it in the metaverse, as we call it in itself. Next slide, please. Real estate, again, kind of similar to tourism, but you'd be able to look at how your model house or your actual finished house would look before it's even built. Today, it's a very costly process for you to be able to spend a lot of time in building the building and then giving people a perspective before you go ahead and look at it. So I think that's a real estate use case. We can move on to the next one. Automotive, I think, again, where you'd be able to look at how the a bike or be able to simulate a lot of stuff using AR and VR before you're able to purchase, or you're able to design or manufacture and all of it. So in the interest of time, I think we can move on and jump more to the e-commerce use case. Yeah, next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, so next slide. So I think e-commerce, where is it? I think according to me, when we were at Scapic, we used to explore all of these use cases. And finally, we found product market fit with e-commerce as a use case, right? I was in NRF, New York, in the National Retail Federation as an expo. And then when I was pitching this to a lot of retail clients there, and they were completely wowed. And I realized that, the biggest application for augmented reality today happens to be in e-commerce, because we're not able to not just show the wow factor and novelty, but also able to show real value at the end of it. And this got accelerated during the COVID times. What happened during COVID is a lot of people started buying products online for the first time. A lot of people like me have started buying very expensive products, high ASP products like furniture, refrigerator online, which I traditionally would love to prefer buying offline. So there's a lot of change in the customer behavior. And this has kind of resulted in accelerating the problem in e-commerce, which has been existing for many years, which is how do you give an offline experience to online, which is how are you able to give people a perception of how big or small the product is? How does it look exactly in your space? Or if it's product like beauty, apparel, footwear, how do you know how does it look exactly on yourself before you buy? And these are things which are basic when you go and do an offline shopping, right? You try things, you do a trial, you look at how the furniture, how big or small it is, you touch it, you see how whether it would fit your room, you can get a mental imagination. But none of this is possible in e-commerce today because you're just looking at images or random people wearing the clothes or the beauty product, and then you're making a guess of whether it will fit your home or not. That is what I think a primary use case for augmented reality in e-commerce is. So next slide, please. So there is a increasing demand with customers to be able to understand the size and fit, look and feel of it, different options, different colors, how does it look, and then be able to customize it based on your needs as well. Next slide. So these are some of the snapshots of what we have enabled, and these are actually all the relevant e-commerce use cases that are existing today. The first one you see is a footwear try-on, which is you'd be able to see how the footwear would look on your feet. And you can, as you see, you can move your feet, and it is using augmented reality technology to superimpose a digital shoe on top of your real foot and be able to see how you're able to, and be able to tell you how it looks on your feet before you're able to make a purchase decision. Much better than a random model wearing a footwear and then you buying it, isn't it? So that's exactly what footwear try-on is all about. Similarly, makeup try-on. I'm sure all ladies who buy makeup have this problem in buying in e-commerce where you don't know how it looks, right? You walk into a mall, you walk into a beauty store, you try different things, be it lipstick, eyeliner, mascara, foundation. You want to put it on your hand and see how it looks before you buy. With again a random model wearing it, you don't know whether it suits your skin tone or you're able to make a decision based on that. So makeup try on enables you to open the front camera and use augmented reality to try these different beauty products on yourself as if it's really appearing on your face, and it's very realistic. Beauty try on is one of the earliest use cases of AR in e-commerce, and this has been perfected to very high fidelity today, where you can exactly see how the product would look on you before you buy. Maybe if you can play the third video, Ambika, quickly. The view in your space. This is again one of the most traditional high ROI generating use case for AR in e-commerce, where you're able to place a furniture in augmented reality in your room, and it appears as if it's exactly in front of you, in the exact size as if it's in an offline experience. You can go around it, you can go closer to it, and you'd be able to make an informed purchase decision whether this would fit your place or not, or do you like it or not, and how big or small it is as well. So I think what the video shows you is an entire step in how we have been able to enable this on the Flipkart app. So when you go to product page and click augmented reality, it opens the camera mode. You need to scan the surface, and then there you go. Within 2 seconds, you have the furniture in front of you as if it's really there, as if it's an offline shopping experience. So this is applicable for all kind of e-commerce products like furniture, sofa, refrigerator, electronic items, home decor, sports and fitness equipments. Any equipment that you really want to know how big or small it is or how does it look in your space is where it is applicable at. Next slide, please. I think view in your space again, but you don't want to put a TV or air conditioner on your floor and look. So augmented reality has truly progressed where you can actually put it on your wall as a vertical placement and see how it looks on your wall before you buy. How cool isn't it? I bought a TV in the last Big Billion Days in Flipkart using this feature, and I was so happy because I exactly knew how it would look on my wall before I even purchased it. So no regrets on any customer dissatisfaction or me having to return the product at all. Product launches, again, augmented reality can be used for building a story around it. With augmented reality, you can do very experiential marketing campaigns, and what is typically a boring influencer unboxing campaign today can be made into a very interesting, immersive augmented reality campaign as well. Next slide, please. Outfit try-on. Again, when I say try-ons, every possible accessory that you want to try on your body, apparel, beauty, watch, footwear, all of it is possible using augmented reality, and it gives you a realistic perception of how it would look on yourself. Apparel try-on, though, want to call out that it's not as progressed as a makeup or a footwear try-on, because it's very hard to track your entire body and then be able to superimpose apparel on top of it. And apparel itself, creating 3D models for it, the different kinds of apparel, specifically Indian apparels, it's very hard. So this is one area where there's a lot of innovation and disruption that we can expect. And we are doing a couple of pilots, and do stay tuned. And Walmart recently announced some parts of apparel try-on use cases as well. So do stay tuned. There's a lot of disruption that's going to happen. And maybe in few years, every single apparel that you're buying online, you would try it on yourself. You know how it looks on you, how it would fit you before you buy. Seems unrealistic today, but mark my words, in 2-3 years, it will happen. Next slide, please. This again, I think there are a lot of different use cases. Like if you want to make people play a game in AR or create a shopping portals, again, marketing driven e-commerce use cases that we can enable through AR. Next slide, please. So I want to leave you last with, while I've spoken a lot on augmented reality, I think this is what augmented reality in e-commerce is today. And again, I think our aim when we started 2 years back to enable augmented reality in e-commerce was, while we started with zero products having 3D and augmented reality enabled, our aim was to, in a couple of years, probably make AR boring, right? We didn't want people to feel wowed about AR, right? I mean, that's the mission statement we picked up, and happy to say that we've kind of almost reached that stage where people don't feel very wowed about it, right? I mean, it's a part of my purchase decision. It is a part of my shopping journey where I go to product page, I look at the images, I look at the product in AR, I know how it looks, and then I look at the cost, I look at the delivery time, and then I place an order. So we have been able to induce a customer behavior at scale where users are now compelled to look at product in 3D and AR, and they think it's a normal part of my shopping journey and not something very super realistic or something wow, something novelty, which only few products have. And that's possible only if you deploy it at scale. So that's augmented reality. We continue to innovate there. There's a lot of room to innovate there. There's a lot of room to generate 3D models at scale. We still haven't enabled it for 100% of products. There's still a lot of innovation to be done there. So I think while we continue to do, very happy that we have a customer behavior with 700 million plus visits. The people now don't want to probably buy a product if it's not in 3D and AR. And that brings me to the last part, which is the virtual shopping or the metaverse in itself, which is the holy grail of how the future of shopping would look. Incidentally, sorry for the shameless plug, but we have recently, 4 days back, launched Flipverse, which is our metaverse space. So you can go to firedrops.flipkart.com and then you'd be taken to Flipverse, which is a metaverse space within the Flipkart app. And we have created a beautiful 3D kind of a metaverse space. And it's an experiential virtual shopping experience where you can create an avatar, walk around the entire space in 3D. It's not like, like probably the Zoom event where it looks virtual, but it's actually not immersive. So this is truly an immersive experience where you can walk around, look closely what the products are in 3D, make purchase happen, go create your avatar, mint your digital collectible or NFTs and all of that as well. So this is the future of shopping. Of course, what we have done is nowhere closer to perfect. This is our first attempt at it. This is one of the biggest metaverse activations in India in terms of traffic and the kind of brands and products that have come. We have a lot of learnings. But yes, this is how you can imagine the future of shopping to be. We'll all probably not use a smartphones. We'll wear a headset. And then we will look at different products in AR. We go to VR mode. We look at different malls. And malls won't exist physically, but malls will exist, virtually. And then you will probably purchase few lands in AR, in the metaverse, and then be able to shop. And then I don't know, maybe you will never buy physical products itself with the kind of digital collectibles, digital products and NFTs that are happening. Maybe you'll cut down on your physical shopping and more be worried about your digital, wardrobe that you want to build. So yes, that's the meta future. It is scary. It is exciting at the same time. So let's keep our fingers crossed. I'm very excited on what the future of shopping with AR and VR is going to enable. We're just barely scratching the surface, but we have come a long, long way since the last few years. And I'm only sure that it's going to only get better and better from here. So thank you so much. And I hope this was, I think I was able to tease a bit of what the future of shopping looks like. So I want all of you to get your hands at it in some way or the other, be involved in it, because this is not one technology. I think it's a new computing platform in itself. It's a new way of internet in itself. It's a new way of, interacting with humanity in itself, right? So I think all of you should get your hands at it in some way or the other. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ajay. I know we are going to at some point come to you and say, Ajay, can you and your team please help us host Billion AI in the metaverse the next time around?
Hopefully.
This is super exciting. Thank you. We do have a couple of questions. If you could just help answer those for us. Let me have the questions up for you. Here you go. What is the process of creating 3D models and how can brands do it at scale at an affordable cost?
Wow, very, very relevant and practical question. While it's easy for me to wow people with the whole technology and visuals and all of it, we do face the challenge honestly as well on how do we deploy it at scale. Now, everything that you saw in augmented reality, be the furniture, be the electronic item, the television, or even in the metaverse space, the whole environment you've created, everything is 3D. 3D as a technology has existed for many, many years now, but it's primarily used in probably manufacturing or CAD modeling and real estate, where, the cost can be justified, right? But in e-commerce, where every product needs to have a 3D model, you need to keep creating virtual environments at scale. Maybe every new day you have a new environment to be created. It's not easy, right? Two big issues there. One is the file formats, the size of it. Till now, 3D models were always known to be bulky, while an image is hardly few KBs and videos are few MBs. 3D models usually go into hundreds of MBs. And you can't put 100 MB furniture in AR and because it'll take forever to load itself. You need it to be less than what 2 MB, 3 MB max, or less than MB. So, how do you retain the visual quality of a 3D model without compromising on the, or how do you retain the quality without compromising the quality and reduce the size as well? You can't do just a plain compression. And then the file format, what you read in an augmented reality is not .fbx, .dae, which is all traditional 3D formats. You need 3D formats like .gltf, USDs that have been invented by Android and iOS in itself. So I think there's a lot of change we're seeing in terms of 3D modeling in itself. So from file format to size and quality, and also how do you create it? Today, you have a 3D artist sitting and sculpting a 3D model like a sculptor would sculpt a statue maybe, right? It's a very costly process. So we need automation there. And at Flipkart, we have achieved partial automation. There are many companies outside, including the likes of Apple, who are trying to solve for it, where you can take images of a product from all angles. And Mark Zuckerberg recently in the Oculus Connect event also displayed that technology where you can take images of a product from all angles, and within few seconds, you have a 3D model ready. Yes, it's not perfect today, but I think it's getting there. Because if Metaverse has to become reality, if augmented reality has to be deployed at scale, 3D model generation needs to happen at scale, and automation is the only way to do it. So my couple of keywords for audience to look up is probably look at photogrammetry. It's one technology which uses images to generate 3D model out of it. And second is something called as NERF, NERF, which is neural radiance field. Mind-blowing technology, right? This is disrupting the technology of 3D itself, which has existed for many decades now. And that's the disruption we need to be able to make 3D at scale. Happy to say that the Flipkart AI data science team which sits out of Seattle in US and us are already working on some parts of making this automation happen through NERF, and Anu and others from the team are also a part of it. So yes, I think we're playing a small role there, but I see the entire village coming together to be able to solve for it. And yes, very interesting times in terms of how 3D model scaling and 3D model generation can itself happen on scale.
Thanks, Ajay. I'm going to very quickly squeeze in two questions because they're both really good ones. In the beauty try-on that we saw earlier in your video, does the perceived color of the lipstick change under different real lighting conditions?
Yes, it does. I think very, very good question. It may not be very, very accurate, but yes, it does, right? And that is what I think. So we work with a partner to enable that. And the partner has probably spent the last 8 to 9 years only perfecting this technology. So there are two aspects of beauty try-on. One is being able to recognize different facial anchor points and being able to render it, right? So that when you move your face, the technology knows that where your lips are or where your cheeks are, and then it is accordingly be able to navigate accordingly. Because the lipstick that's augmented in top of your lips needs to move with you as well when you move, right? So that's the tracking technology. This is fairly, I would say, sorted because a lot of computer vision technologies have studied human face a lot, and there is good AI algorithms that can make it happen today. The trickier aspect is though on how you render it on top of your face. You need a lot of metadata. Like a lipstick is not just one hex code, a 0xFF1 color that you can just put and you be done with it. You need at least 14 to 15 metadata from RGB value, transparency, translucency, glossy, different kind of metadata that make it actually look realistic. And that metadata also considers certain environment parameters like your skin tone, because a blush, when you put on your foundation, you put on your cheeks, it will not look similar if you put on me or somebody else with a different skin tone as well. So it needs to react to it. So there's a lot more to be done there. I wouldn't say that part of it is perfected where you're able to recognize a skin tone or a lighting condition and change. But yes, it does happen today. It's not that you blindly apply something on your face. So you can try it out, maybe go to a L'Oreal or any Lakme beauty product on Flipkart app, and you'd be able to probably appreciate the kind of fidelity you see there.
Sure, we definitely will. I'll end with a really nice question. What's the aha moment for a consumer when they try products on AR on Flipkart or on any other e-commerce platform?
I'll tell you a quick, small story, where I've been in augmented reality, of course, for many years. And we got a pet dog, and I wanted to buy a crate for him, right? And I've never had pets in before. So I said, how do I buy a crate? I went to a platform. Of course, at that time, Flipkart had not enabled it. So went to a platform, and I said, okay, let me look for a crate. Trust me, I've spent close to an hour, me and my wife, trying to struggle to figure out if this would fit our hall, where, and it would our dog be
Yeah.
comfortable inside it, and as he grows bigger, would it all be make sense or not? We literally had measuring tapes, put chalk piece and all that. And it made me feel, we are living in 2020 and back then, and we're still doing these rudimentary ways of doing it. So I didn't end up, trust me, purchasing it because it was not there, right? And then I went offline and purchased it. But then a year later, or now at least 2 years later, when I had to buy a cradle for my baby, we had a daughter 4 months back. I actually went and I saw it in augmented reality. Within 15 seconds, it was very clear. We changed. Of course, whatever I saw, I didn't want to buy because it looked big. Then I went something, it looked a little too bulky. We were able to make an informed purchase decision, me and my wife, within just maybe a minute. So that's the aha moment, right? Being able to, I think, get that realistic look and feel, size and fit, which you would get in an offline experience, which you don't get here. And you're always living in insecurity till you get it delivered on how it looks. And then you have to go through the
Right.
painful process of returns. I think that is the aha moment, I would say, of mimicking an offline experience, getting a beautiful customer satisfaction, and not wanting to go through a painful process of return in itself. So that is what I feel aha moment for a consumer would be.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ajay, for all of those deep insights, for showing us what shopping is going to look like in a little bit, and obviously for answering our audience questions. Appreciate the time you've taken out to join us today. I know it's been really back to back with you guys launching Metaverse and all of that, but thank you for making time out for this. Really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for hosting me, and all the best to all of you for the further part of the event.
Thank you so much, Ajay.